welcome to the channel once again. You know, whenever the rainy season starts, most farmers start growing various type of crops and planting. Even farmers engaging in maize growing are not exceptional. And it is important for them to follow the right agronomy practices in order to realize bumper harvest. When I talk of bumper harvest, I mean like you harvesting in peak, you know. So maize production has improved in Uganda and even in other countries, and this is because there is technology involved. Like you find farmers are now using hybrid seeds and open pollinated varieties, timely planting, proper spacing, timely weeding, and harvesting using improved tools. You know, it is making maize farming so interesting, and try to gain interest to just speak something about it and share about it. So the first step that we'll start with is plowing. Yes, it's plowing. Farmers, it's always good to engage in timely land preparations before the rain season starts for timely planting. You know, the major rain seasons is mostly in the month of March for areas that are along Lake Victoria Basin, for those like Uganda, Eastern Uganda, Midwestern and Southern part of the country, where planting must be done before the end of March if you want to time well. Other areas, mainly in the northern region, experience, you know, major rains in the month of July, and it is a major season for farmers growing the crop, that's maize. So you should be good in that timing. You're timing the rains in your region. You should understand at what month do the rains come into your region, so that you can plant at the rightful time and your crops are not stressed because of drought or anything. So the first step is always plowing. You should to obtain good maize harvest, you ensure that your farm is plowed well. As you can see, this one, my boys are plowing it well. The weed is being covered very well. As you can see, the soil covers completely the weed. That's what you should emphasize on. The weed should be covered well, and then after it rots under the soil and it actually becomes manure for your plant. As you can see, the oxen is tilting it very well. So that's what you should always be considering with. Make sure the land is well prepared and all the weeds are covered down. At least make sure like you can treat the land, if you have the capacity, like twice before even planting. You first make it before the rainy season, then when the rainy season comes, you tilt it again. Then after, it becomes very cool and all the weed is covered down. Yeah, and make sure at least the plowing should go like a depth of 20 centimeters at least, and should be conducted 2 to 3 weeks before the onset of the rains, because when the rains come in, you're going to plant. Yeah, so you make sure the land is, you know, prepared very well and ready for your seeds. You can use different mechanisms. You find other people who use oxen, others are using hand tractors, others are using big tractors. But as you're using big tractors, you should be sure of the land, because if you have like 1 acre, what's the use of the big tractor? You can use bulls like me here in the video. Yeah, make sure the land is nice. Like there you can see, I use bulls, but you can see the land is looking cool, ready for the seeds, you know. And when your land is like that, now the next step is plant. That's our next step. When we are done with the land is looking good, ready to receive the seeds, the weeds are dealt with, then the next step is now planting. So when you're going to do your planting, make sure the first thing that you consider is the variety of seeds. Like for example, this time around, I decided to use this hybrid DK 9089. That's the one I used this time around. Next time maybe I would use something else. And you should also be considering the spacing that you're putting in between seed to seed and between rows. So there is need to observe optimal plant population in the entire farm, meaning the required spacing is around 37 centimeters by 35 centimeters, or alternatively you could use 75 centimeters by 25 centimeters. You know, that is relatively something good. So a farmer needs roughly like 25 kilograms of maize seed per hectare, or 10 kilograms per acre, yeah, depending on your size that you have. Usually you can use 2 seeds per hole, or you can even use 1 seed per hole. As you can see, my boy here is planting 1 seed per hole. That's what I decided, because I was doing a demo. If I planted 1 seed, what is the yield? So you see, my boy is putting in 1 seed per hole and is covering it very well. So, but there are farmers who prefer to use 36 centimeters by 59 centimeters spacing. You know, usually the size of maize cob is big enough, but a farmer will harvest fewer yields per acre. I will create another video and I speak more about the spacing of seeds and the variety of seeds, because we also have a variety of seeds in Uganda. Even other countries have different varieties, you know. So and each country has the different recommended maize seed, you know. Hybrids like Uganda, we have longe 9, we have longe 10, bazooka, DK, the one I'm using, but DK also has different, you know, classes in it. So you can actually find out which one best suits your area, and which one is good for you and which one yields more. Me, like I said, I decided to use DK 9089 because I wanted to try it out and see it is yield, because you can find farmers growing maize in highland areas such as, for example, like in Uganda, places like Kapchora. You know, I recommended to use maize varieties that I got from Kenya, you know, hybrids from Kenya, and you know, in other areas they can use something like, for me, this is the eastern part of Uganda, and I was using DK and 9089, and it did well for me. I got a good harvest of it from this 1 acre. So it's actually a very good thing. As you can see, the maize grew, because this video that I've actually created, it's running through different times. Yeah, I kept on recording from the time of preparing the land to the time of planting. They have grown. This particular part, by this time they had already received their first weeding. So yeah, I will show you when they're weeding the other side. So that's why you can see again at this level, yeah, the maize has grown. There are some areas which the soil was good. As you can see, the other side was still small, but this side you can see how it looks so black, so nice, though it was getting some kind of you know, being affected and they need to be sprayed. Yeah, but I will walk you through. So there are some soils which are completely very good and they can support, like this part. You can see even the weed also was growing at a very terrible speed. Actually, this part disturbed me with weeds, because the soil is really good. Even this part, when it came to time of harvesting, I harvested big from this part. So when I realized that there's a disturbance in it, I had to spray. So my boys started spraying, you know. They started spraying just to control the pests and the diseases, because we don't want losses. So we want the maize to remain healthy. So anything that wants to bring losses for us, we don't want. So you can use any kind of pesticide or insecticide for you to just spray along the leaves. And one thing you should mark also is, when you're spraying maize, make sure when the spraying is going on, the spray of the medicine should actually be directed inside, like at the neck of the maize plant, yeah, in the middle, because most times those worms, the caterpillars, that's where they reside. They come out, they eat the leaves, and after they go back inside and enter inside. So that's why you're seeing the boy is focusing the nozzle of the pump in the middle of the maize, because that's where those ninjas live. So we don't want to give them chance. So if you just spray anyhow, like other plants, like the way they spray, for example, let's say like beans, you will not hit them. So you have to put it in the middle of the maize, that in middle leaf that is sprouting out. That's where you target when you're putting it. So you can use different kind of insecticide or pesticides. For example, for me, this we're mixing striker in it, and then we're mixing, we also emanate in it, emamectin, you know, something which has emamectin benzoate. So it's what we're using, and it worked well. To some extent, it also works as a fertilizer. I also don't know how, but yeah, but when you spray it, just the maize looks so interesting and starts, you know, thriving well, growing well. It just looks very nice. So the boys were busy. I made sure I used the same boys. These are actually the very boys that were plowing during the time of plowing, and I kept in touch with them, you know, that relationship with them. I entrusted them because I was also not so much in the farm. So you can see the maize is improving. Even this other side, which had the short maize, now also increased on size. It's also just because of the soil. The other side, I told you, it is more, the soil is more fertile than this particular part. That's why you see the maize here is not like the other side. Yeah. So next stage, the weed. Yeah. Actually, I didn't give you the video when we were doing the first weeding. You might be wondering, wait, this guy waited until the maize is to this side, then he decided now to weed. No. No. I guess that I didn't make the recording of the first video when they were doing the first weeding. This is the second weeding that the boys were doing. The first video got me. The first weeding got me when I was too busy. So I was not so much at the farm. Yeah, but at this time it formed when I was at the farm. So the boys were doing the first weeding. As you can see, same guys. I was actually making use of same guys. We just built that bond and trust. So at times I couldn't trust them. You pay them their money, and you go where you're going, and you come back and you find they have done good work. Yeah. So weeding is also very important for farmers in your farm, in your crops. You know, you can either maybe use herbicides, you know, such as maybe Roundup. Could also be used before plowing the field, during land preparation, you know, to control perennial weeds and to generally control weeds in young plants. However, farmers can engage in manual weeding 2 or 3 times, you know, based on how the weed is disturbing your garden life. For me, I decided to use the manual one, but then the following season I'm going to try to use herbicides also. You know, this is something that I told you, Sign Happy Farm, we are growing. So this is something that I'm trying out, and I'm going to grow more in it when I understand every process. So next time I'm going to try out the herbicides and see how they work. They affect the maize. You know, there are some people have that mindset that herbicides affect the maize growth, they affect the yield. So I'm going to try it out. Of course, not on the whole garden, but I'll try out a part of it. When I see it's working, now I'll do it on a large scale. Yeah, that is it. So the next, you know, you can weed it like 2 weeks from the date of planting. Then the next is after 1 month. Depending on the weed situation, of course. You know, some farmers prefer chemical spray to minimize the labor. You don't want to use labor so much, so you can decide to use chemical spray instead. So you can see the level at which we are in now. Our maize looks very good. Hey, I had to get a good view of it. We don't have a drone for me to go up and see how it is, so I decided to climb some tree, an avocado tree, and yeah, I was giving you an aerial view. We cannot be limited, we will use the available resources. So the tree became my drone. Yeah, so interesting. So you can actually, if you have the capacity, it was just because for me this I was trying out, and I don't want you to burn yourself out. If you do have the capacity, you can also apply fertilizers on it, but for my specific part, I didn't have enough money, so I didn't apply fertilizers, but still the maize did well. But if you have the capacity and you have the money, you can apply fertilizers, you know, because it's highly encouraged for you to purchase and apply a required fertilizer in order to realize good yield, because they also help the maize on growth, because you know fertilizers are feed for the maize. So if, for example, like that part which I was telling you that the soil was not good, if I put fertilizers there, I believe it would have given me more yield, you know. So the recommended fertilizer types include, you know, diammonium phosphate, that is DAP, which must be applied 1 bottle top per hole. You know, farmers are required to apply like around 94 kilograms per hectare and 34 kilograms per acre. You also apply urea, can be applied when the plants are 1 month old and at the time of flowering. It should be applied too close to the stalk. Farmers who can afford use of drip irrigation can dilute the fertilizer and apply using this technology. Yeah, you see the maize was thriving well. Others applicable fertilizers also can be calcium ammonium nitrate, NPK, you know, which is also good for the soil. So as you can see, my maize here is doing very well. You can see the stalk carrying some maize which has started to come out. You can see one stalk having over 4 combs coming up, others we having 5. There's even a stalk I saw with 6. I don't know whether I captured it. I remember I captured it. It was carrying 6, but of course not all of them become big. You can find out of the 6, maybe 4 are big, then the other 3 are not that big. But that shows that it's good, and this particular area had good soil because the soil was nice. They had actually, I think in this particular part, they had burnt some charcoal around, so you know that charcoal, there's a way it does well to the plants. So the maize did well. You know, maize is one of the major staple foods in Uganda. Its production has increased over the years as people change their consumption trends, and it has evolved from a purely subsistence to a successful commercial crop. You know, processed maize flour in Uganda is sold mainly for food in schools, relief to World Food Program, and as export to neighboring countries such as Kenya, Rwanda, and South Sudan. In as far as Uganda's weather is concerned, farmers can grow the crop in most parts of the country, although it is commonly grown in the districts of Kapchorwa, Ganga, Masindi, Mbale, Mubende, Kasese, Kabuli, Jinja, Kabaroli. You know, and nutritionally, maize is very nutritious as a starchy food. It also has an appreciable level of protein, which has higher level of essential amino acids. So you could also actually start growing maize. For this particular video, I'll end it here, but I'm going to create for you another video when it's time for harvest, you know, after it has grown well and now it's time for harvest. I'll give you another video, so stay tuned for the next video and you'll see how much we would have made out of this. We'll also make a video on how to control the pests alone, you know, everything concerning maize. We'll learn it such that as you're planning or as you're into maize farming, you know what exactly you're doing. Thank you for staying long up to this particular moment. Kindly consider subscribing if you have not subscribed, and also like the video and share with others so it can help out some other farmer also. Thank you.